I'm afraid I might make the same mistake. Praise the Lord, my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Psalm 103:2. I had just gotten into bed when my phone rang. Hello? Hello, Mrs. Kim, it's me. Can you talk? Sure, go ahead. It was a young deaconess from our church. Something felt ominous. Mrs. Kim, Hisu has gotten himself into trouble. That moment, a thought flashed through my head. Has he gone back to that old habit again? It was 10 years ago when I first met her. She was expecting to deliver her second child, Hisu. This young mother loved to study the Bible at church, and thus became a member of our church. She soon joyfully gave birth to her baby. I found it very pleasing and heartwarming to watch this child grow. Hisu was a smart boy with great focus and concentration. As he was nearing his 4th birthday, he began to develop a strange habit. The church was located on the 5th floor of the building. For some reason, Hisu liked to lean out of the open window, and he would drop whatever was in his hand. There had been many cases where a passerby would be startled to death, rush up to the church, furiously complain and scold this little boy. Watching him, I had worried his habit might not be cured. And my prediction was right. She was in the middle of preparing for dinner when a police officer and a lady in the same neighborhood knocked on her door. Surprised, she asked what had happened. The lady explained to her exactly what had happened. She had bought a brand new car 2 months ago. And about an hour ago, somebody dropped something from above that hit and broke the rear window of her car. To catch the culprit, she looked at the CCTV video and found out that the deaconess' first son had been playing around near the car. That was the reason she brought the police. The mother immediately called her first son and asked him. He jumped, strongly denying the suspicion. She could also confidently prove his innocence, because she herself also had stayed at home the whole day. She flared at them for suspecting her son as the one just by looking at him passing by the car in the CCTV. The police officer and the car owner apologized and left. As soon as she closed the door, a thought struck her head. The time they had mentioned at which the crime occurred, she was actually visiting her next-door neighbor. And during that time, her second son, Hisu, was alone at home. Could it possibly be Hisu? She felt a chill run down her spine. She went right into Hisu's room. His face had already turned pale, as he had been watching the whole scene from his room. Hisu, tell me, did you do it? He was about to cry as he nodded his head and said, I dropped a water-filled balloon from the porch. Ah, she moaned and shook her head. He was now 10 years old, and that habit hadn't disappeared yet. What if it was a person instead of a car that was hit by the water balloon, dropped from the 20th floor? It was too horrifying even just to imagine. Looking at his mother's face filled with rage, despair, and fright, Hisu trembled with fear. Struggling to hold herself together, she asked him, Hisu, what do you want me to do? With tears flowing down his cheek, Hisu answered, I wish you would forgive me. Half crying, she said, Hisu, do you have any idea what happens if you drop the water balloon from a 20-story high apartment and hit someone? Yes. If the balloon hits a person, they can become disabled or even die. Why did you do that? He kept silent. He only shed tears. In order to keep her emotions under control, she tightened her fist and said, "Let's talk again when I calm down," and then left his room. Her mind was extremely disturbed and perplexed. How should she take care of this situation? Two thoughts came to her mind. There is no witness. There is no proof that Hisu is the one either. It's now over. Keep your mouth shut and let it pass. Honesty is just as important and valuable as life. You should adhere to honesty at the cost of any sacrifice you may have to pay. She was troubled between these two thoughts. So she called me for help. What scared her more than anything was Hisu's persistent bad habit. She kept crying as she spoke. I said to her, "Jesus has already spoken to your mind. What would Jesus do in moments like this?" She was speechless. I also kept quiet and waited. A few moments later, she made up her mind to solve this case in an honest way and asked me, "What should I do?" I answered, "You should take Hisu to the car owner and ask for her forgiveness. And you should compensate the repair fee for the broken window in front of Hisu." Yes, I should do that. She took her second son to the car owner. She had him tell everything. With his head down, Hisu diffidently confessed what he had done. The car owner highly valued Hisu's honesty and courage and gladly forgave him. The mother paid her the car repair fee before returning home. Exhausted, Hisu fell to the couch. As he blankly stared into space, his face showed deep anguish. At that moment, his face was not that of a 10-year-old child. His overly look of despair broke his mother's heart. In his profoundly deep thought, Hisu asked, "Mom, I am really determining within myself never to do it again. But what if I feel the urge to do it again? Then what should I do?" Her heart was torn by the mourning of her son who had lost the battle against himself. He was well aware of the thing she feared as well. The fear of knowing the fact that he would end up losing again if the battle broke out again drove Hisu to despair. It was a battle he had never won before. The battle that both of them felt would be a losing battle. Feeling sadness and pity toward her son for realizing the sad battle so early in his life, she threw her arms around him. She wept out of indescribable pity for her son who was crying in her arms. Then the soft voice of Jesus spoke to her mind. When such desire surges up in your mind, make a resolute decision not to execute that desire and wholeheartedly call upon Jesus. Then Jesus will free you from that desire. Ah, that's right. We can lean on Jesus. There's nothing we can't overcome when we call on Jesus. The brightest light had shone upon her gloomy mind. Recognizing the light in her mind, she quietly embraced Hisu's face with her hands and said with confidence, "Hisu, there is a way. Next time the urge to drop something to the ground again comes into your mind, immediately decide not to, and pray to Jesus with all your heart. Jesus, please help me. Help me not to think these thoughts anymore. Then I promise you, He will help you. Continuously call upon Jesus. Then you will easily be able to control your mind." With her convincing look and advice, Hisu's face brightened up. "Mom, is that true? Would Jesus really help me if I make up my mind and call upon Him when those thoughts come in?" "Of course. I am 100% sure. All you need to do is just to call upon Him. So from now on, fear nothing, but always think about Jesus and call to Him in order to not forget Him. I see. Feeling relieved and assured, he bore his head into his mother's bosom again. Patting his head, she whispered into Jesus' ear, "Don't worry about anything. I am here, praying for you. And remember, Jesus, who loves you the most, is also praying for you. There is absolutely nothing we should fear in our lives. If there were anything to fear, it would be forgetting the grace of God, who always extends His helping hand to us. How generous and gracious our Jesus is, and how grateful we all should be."